one way using the left hand and then come back using the right. Pace while doing this movement. There's a lot of balance and core at play, plus the weight isn't super light, and so it does tax the legs. So today I'm doing a high intensity circuit workout. So all of the groups today are probably going to be like 4 or 5 movements repeated back to back with minimal rest. And I guess the common theme is kind of going to be functional stuff, or quote unquote functional stuff. So a lot of sled carries, different kinds of carries, and mix in kettlebell and macebell movements within the circuits. So starting off with the most basic sled movement, uh, reverse sled and forward sled push. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, it's a very simple movement, by which I mean you don't really have to think too much about it. It's literally just walking backwards and then pushing the sled forward, which isn't that complex. But I guess some of the cues that I'm following are making sure that my toes are the first things to contact the floor, and I'm like pushing through the big toe than any other part of the body. Then for the second movement, doing single arm farmer carries. So I'm going to take it one way using the left hand and then come back using the right. So here a lot of core, traps, forearms, shoulders involved, and also legs because you have to move around the weight. And then for the third movement, doing 5 snatches on each arm. So using the 28 kilogram 62 pound kettlebell. Switching sides. And then I've Jimmy rigged or jerry rigged. I think it's either or, one of them. Like there's these bars that are in the yoga room with some weights, and so I've added 17 pounds to one side, and so it'll act as a steel mace or Macebell. Doing 10 360s on each side. This way, I'm able to bring some steel mace style training into the gym without necessarily having to carry my maces here. So yeah, doing these 4 movements as a circuit to start off. That was my 4th set, going to do one more. then on to the next thing. These next set of movements is going to be kind of long. It's also going to be pretty grueling, but that's kind of the point. So I saw this move. I've done a version of this, but stationary in the past. So it's like a rotational lunge, or I've also done rotational squats. But this time I'm going to do rotational lunge walks one way with the barbell to start. So first, so I have 25s on each side, so that becomes 95 pounds. And getting this to my back. Then going to hold the plates. At least I find this to be the most stable position for me. Then I'm going to lunge and rotate to the same side, and then come up, take a step forward, and rotate towards the other side. Going to keep a pretty controlled pace while doing this movement. There's a lot of balance and core at play, plus the weight isn't super light, and so it does tax the legs quite a bit. This movement is pretty hard on the core, which is kind of the point. Then, once I reach one side, I'm going to press the weight up behind my neck and carry it back in a snatch grip. After that, going into a carry. So I'm going to hold a 35-pound kettlebell in rack position and use the farmer carry bar and just farmer carry grip, and walk to the other side and switch hands. So first I'm getting the 35-pound kettlebell to shoulder rack, then doing a farmer walk, switching hands once I get to one end. And then once I get back, I'm doing single arm deadlifts with the farmer carry bar for 5 on each hand. The bar is 25 pounds with this one, and there's 90 pounds on it, making it 115 pounds. Then for the final set of movements of this circuit, using my makeshift mace to do a complex. So 360, single arm 360 into lunge. Doing 5 on each side. Oh, so yeah, doing this for 4 sets, and then on to the next thing. For the final set of movements, it's going to be kind of long and grueling again. But like I mentioned before, that's kind of the point today, to have like an extremely grueling, hard workout. So I'm going to just alternate single arm sled rows. So squatting as I row. This allows me to perform the movement with a little bit more explosion. Also, the act of squatting as I row exaggerates the stretch in the lat. So there's something called a stretch reflex. Think of it almost as like when you snap a rubber band, you're able to create an explosive force to launch an object. So you're kind of mimicking that concept but with muscle fibers. Then I'm going to grip the sled on the low bar and then push it back. Pushing it from the lower part is much harder than pushing it with the regular bars. It's also like harder on the legs. And there's a lot more core involved, in my opinion. Then for the next part of the circuit, I'll have to readjust the camera. So I'm going to do rotational deadlifts. So previously I was doing rotational walking lunges. So a similar concept with this. I'm doing a staggered deadlift and then switching legs and rotating the bar in the process of switching legs. So it's kind of a complicated movement, and if anyone's trying to mimic it, definitely start off very light. Like you can even kind of mimic it with 10, 20 pound kettlebells or dumbbells. But so standing in staggered position, I'm going to grip the bar pretty narrow. At least that's what's comfortable for me. I have 95 pounds on the bar. So deadlift from one side, rotate, switch the staggered foot, and come back. So doing this 5 times on each side. Ooh. Lost a little bit of balance there momentarily. I'm using weight that I'm 100% confident that I can control very easily. This is a movement in which I'm not trying to go super heavy. I'm trying to target my core mainly by doing these awkward movements, which will increase my overall stability on the regular lifts. So yeah, I saw this movement being done by like this female MMA trainer slash fighter named Steph Rose Phase 6 on Instagram. Then with Mace, I'm going to do 360 to single arm 360 to half side squat with a touch or tap on the floor, which looks like this. So it's 360, single 360, tap on the floor. Tap on the floor. Doing this 5 times on each side. Missed the catch over there. Oh well. And then finally finishing off with 5 pull-ups. So yeah, pretty intense grueling circuit. Doing that for 5 sets. This was actually my 5th set. I'm going to head to the sauna now. I'll probably record an outro after this. So this is me post sauna. Spent 20 minutes in the sauna doing a combination of like mobility work and tib raises. Tib raises, essentially I put a kettlebell on my toes and do this, which trains the tibialis. Good for knee health. In any case, a mini posing session. It feels like sitting in the sauna makes a huge difference as far as how I feel and also just in the way my body looks. So I'm really liking the fact that the sauna is a part of my routine again, after not using it all summer. But yeah, today's workout, a lot of interesting movements, I would say, with some of the rotational stuff. Those movements, like, I don't want to say are like super safe or anything like that, but I don't think any movement is safe. I think it all depends on how much weight you're putting on the movement and how used to it you are. I think the reason many people tend to get injured doing day-to-day activities, so for example, You hear stories of people spraining their backs and things like that when like picking up like their kid or something. And I think that sort of stuff happens because they haven't trained the act of bending down and picking up an odd object. Like they're always like they might do a deadlift, but in a deadlift you're always maintaining that same rigid posture. But often when you're picking up things in day-to-day life, the object is not as evenly balanced as a barbell, and also you're picking up things in an awkward angle. Yeah, and so by doing things like the rotational deadlift that I was doing, or Jefferson curls, or other mobility exercises in which you train your back to function in what would be considered awkward or unconventional positions, you end up making the body a lot less injury prone, and also just overall you end up having a lot of confidence in how the body moves, and you're able to attempt things without a fear of injury. At least that's how things have worked out for me. For the first 7 to 8 years of my lifting life, I would do very like traditional style training, which was like bodybuilding and powerlifting and stuff, never really focusing on odd mobility exercises and some of the stuff like the club bells and the steel mace and the things I do with the kettlebell. And I was a lot more injury prone then, and now it's been a really long time since I've felt like I've been in a position where I would get injured. The only thing that brings me close to getting hurt is jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu is so unpredictable and there's a lot of stuff going on. But even in jiu-jitsu, I have a lot of confidence in being in weird positions. And I've also noticed that in certain positions where other people are more likely to tap, I seem to have like more give, if that makes sense. In any case, yeah, a little posing session and an outro. Let's try that again. Let's do that again. So all right. That's enough showing off, I guess. That's all for today's video. Hope this posing stuff isn't annoying. There are some people who take, I forget the word, who dislike the aesthetics and the vanity of, I guess, lifting and want just the functional stuff. And then there's people who want all the vanity and none of the functional stuff. I guess I'm just trying to bring both those worlds together. I think one shouldn't be absent of the other. It's better to look good and be functional than just be one or the other. So yeah, that's all for today's video. See you all tomorrow.